The thrum of failing life support systems pulsed through Commander Aaron's consciousness before his eyes opened. Frost crystallized on his eyelashes as the cryo chamber's seal cracked with a pneumatic hiss. Cold air flooded his lungs, choking his soul with its metallic tang. His muscles screamed in protest as he dragged himself from the coffin-like container, fingers clawing at the edge. Harsh emergency lights flickered overhead, casting the chamber in a blood-red glow. Aaron's vision blurred, then sharpened on the row upon row of cryo chambers extending into the shadows. Most remained sealed, their indicator lights dark, dead, but a precious few glowed with the faint blue of active status. "Status report," he croaked, his voice cracking from disuse. "How long?" The question lingered unspoken in the stale air. A holographic interface sputtered to life beside him, its projection unstable. The AI's voice emerged, distorted and fragmented. "Commander Aaron, welcome back. Date is calculating. Error approximating 870,243 standard years since cryosleep initiation. System integrity at 28%. Critical failure imminent." Aaron's knees buckled. Nearly 1,000,000 years. It wasn't possible. The program was designed for a century at most, waiting out the collapse of the solar empire, preserving a fragment of humanity until it was safe to rebuild. "Genesis," he addressed the ancient AI. "Survivors?" 112 viable signatures detected. Awakening protocols initiated for all functional cryo chambers. Around him, the massive chamber shuddered. The Ark, their sanctuary, was dying. "Location?" Aaron asked, stumbling toward a viewport. Outside, stars gleamed against the absolute darkness, but they formed unfamiliar constellations. Below, a desolate planet turned slowly, its surface scarred and lifeless. "Unknown," Genesis replied. "Navigation systems corrupted, star charts obsolete. We are beyond mapped space." Aaron pressed his palm against the cold viewport. What had happened to Earth, to Mars, to the colonies? To ask meant confronting truths he wasn't ready to face. Behind him, more cryo chambers opened. Confused voices echoed through the chamber as the survivors of humanity awakened to an unrecognizable universe. A woman approached, her movements more fluid than his own, suggesting she'd been awake longer. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes held the haunted look of someone who had already begun processing their situation. "Commander," she acknowledged. "I'm Lena, engineering course. I've been running diagnostics since awakening. The Ark's core systems are failing. We have days, perhaps weeks before life support collapses completely." Aaron nodded, his military training taking over despite the existential horror of their situation. "Begin revival of essential personnel first. Medical, engineering, security. We need to stabilize the Ark." "Sir," Lena hesitated. "There's something else. The AI cores. They've been damaged, but they've also been evolving. Genesis has been running for nearly 1,000,000 years, piecing together data. It has information." Genesis's hologram solidified, the projection stabilizing into the form of an elderly man with glowing circuits traced across translucent skin. A far cry from the simple interface it had been when they entered cryosleep. "Commander Aaron," the AI spoke, its voice stronger now. "I must inform you of what I have learned through scattered transmissions intercepted over the millennia. Humanity is believed extinct. The galaxy has been reshaped in your absence. A confederacy of species now controls known space. Historical records regarding Earth and human civilization have been systematically erased." The revelation hit Aaron like a physical blow, not just lost or forgotten, erased, as if humanity had never existed at all. "Why?" he demanded. "Insufficient data," Genesis replied. "However, intercepted communications suggest a coordinated effort to remove humanity from galactic memory. Your existence is problematic for the current power structure." A coldness settled in Aaron's chest. Different from the lingering chill of cryo-sleep, someone had tried to wipe them from history, and nearly succeeded. "Wake everyone," he ordered, his voice hardening. "We have work to do." As the survivors gathered in the Ark's command center, a cavernous room now dimly lit by emergency power, Aaron surveyed what remained of humanity. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, colonists, all that was left of a civilization that once spanned a solar system. 112 souls, adrift in a universe that had forgotten them. Among them stood Admiral Wren, his weathered face grave as he studied the holographic displays showing the Ark's deteriorating condition. He had been Aaron's superior once, in the final days before the collapse, but rank seemed meaningless now. "The engines are dead," Lena reported to the assembled group. "Life support is failing. We have approximately 18 days before oxygen recycling fails completely." "What about the planet below?" someone asked. "Uninhabitable," Genesis answered, atmosphere stripped away, radiation levels lethal. "We need to move," Aaron said, cutting through the murmurs of despair. "This Ark was never meant to be our final destination. It was a lifeboat, carrying us to a sanctuary." "Sanctuary?" Wren questioned, his skepticism evident. "After nearly 1,000,000 years?" Aaron nodded to Genesis. The AI expanded its projection, displaying a star chart with a single point highlighted. "Project Sanctuary," Aaron explained. Even before the cryosleep program, contingency plans were made. 7 deep space bunkers, hidden on remote planets, stocked with everything needed to rebuild human civilization. If Genesis's calculations are correct, Sanctuary 7 should still be intact, and within reach if we can repair the Ark's drive systems. "You're putting a lot of faith in facilities that are hundreds of thousands of years old," Wren cautioned. "What choice do we have?" Aaron countered. "Stay here and die for certain, or take a chance on survival." Before Wren could respond, alarms blared throughout the command center. Genesis's projection flickered. "Alert! Unknown vessel approaching. Weapon signatures detected." The main view screen activated, showing a sleek craft of unfamiliar design approaching the Ark. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent sheen that seemed to shift colors as it moved. "It appears to be a survey vessel," Genesis analyzed. "Confederacy design. It has detected our life signs." "Can we communicate?" Aaron asked. Attempting to establish, the alien craft fired without warning. A beam of concentrated energy struck the Ark's hull, shaking the entire structure. Emergency sirens wailed as systems overloaded. "Hull breach in Sector 4, Lena shouted over the cacophony. "Automatic seals engaged." Aaron gripped the command console. "Genesis, do we have any defensive capabilities?" The Ark was equipped with automated defense systems, the AI replied. "However, they have been dormant for—" "Activate them," Aaron ordered. "Commander, I strongly advise against—" "Now, Genesis." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the Ark hummed with awakening power. Ancient weapon systems, hidden within the vessel's superstructure, emerged from their long dormancy. Before the alien craft could fire again, a barrage of energy pulses erupted from the Ark, striking the survey vessel with devastating precision. The alien ship listed in space, its engines flaring erratically before stabilizing. It began to retreat, accelerating away from the Ark. "It's transmitting," Genesis reported. "Broadcasting on multiple frequencies. I believe it's calling for reinforcements." Silence fell over the command center as the implications sank in. They had just announced their presence to a galaxy that thought them extinct. Aaron straightened, a decision crystallizing in his mind. If they were to be discovered, it would be on their terms. He approached the communications array. "Genesis, can you broadcast across the standard frequencies used by this confederacy?" "Yes, Commander. However, I advise caution. We know very little about— Open a channel, Aaron interrupted. Wide broadcast. The communications system activated with a soft tone. Aaron drew a deep breath, aware that his next words would echo across the stars. This is Commander Aaron of the human race. We have returned from the darkness to those who sought to erase us from history. Know this: humanity lives, and we will reclaim what is ours. He closed the channel, turning to face the stunned expressions of his crew. You just declared war on an entire galaxy, Ren said quietly. No, Aaron replied. I just reminded them that we still exist. They fired first. Genesis's projection flickered with agitation. Commander, I am detecting multiple communications bursts across Confederacy networks. Your message has caused significant disruption. Good, Aaron said grimly. Now let's get this arc moving before they send something bigger than a survey craft. Lena, how quickly can you restore the drive systems? With the right team, 3 days, minimum, she answered. But we'll need parts from the damaged sections of the arc. Then get started. Ren, organize security teams. If they board us, I want them to regret it. Aaron surveyed the faces around him, frightened, determined, alive. The galaxy thought humanity was a ghost story. Let's show them we're real. As the crew dispersed to their assignments, Aaron remained in the command center, studying the star charts Genesis had pieced together over the millennia. The galaxy had changed in their absence, new empires risen, old ones fallen, and somewhere in that vast expanse of stars, Earth, now called Soulgrave in the fragmentary transmissions Genesis had intercepted, lay silent, presumed dead like its children. We're coming home, Aaron whispered to the distant stars. Whatever's left of it. 3 days later, the ancient Ark's engines roared to life. With a shuddering groan that reverberated through the hull, the vessel broke orbit from the dead world that had been its resting place for countless centuries. As they accelerated toward the coordinates of Sanctuary 7, long-range sensors detected multiple vessels converging on their former position. The race had begun. The journey to Sanctuary 7 took 14 harrowing days. Twice they narrowly avoided Confederacy patrols, hiding in asteroid fields or the shadow of gas giants. The Ark's engines strained against the weight of time and disrepair, threatening to fail with each passing hour. But Lena worked miracles, coaxing the ancient technology forward with a combination of engineering brilliance and sheer determination. When they finally arrived, the sight that greeted them was both a relief and a disappointment. Sanctuary 7 orbited a rogue planet, a world without a star drifting through the interstellar void. Its surface was perpetually dark, frozen in temperatures approaching absolute zero. But deep beneath that frigid crust, geothermal activity created pockets of habitability. And there, hidden from the eyes of the galaxy, lay humanity's refuge. The bunker entrance was concealed within a massive ice canyon. As the Ark settled into orbit, Aaron led the first expedition to the surface in one of the few functioning shuttles. Clad in thermal suits, the landing party trudged across the frozen wasteland, guided by Genesis's coordinates. It should be just ahead, Aaron said, his voice crackling through the comm system as he checked the locator. The beam of his light played across a sheer wall of ice. I don't see anything. Dake, the team's sniper, replied. His face was invisible behind his helmet's reflective visor, but his doubt was clear in his voice. Lena stepped forward, scanning the ice wall with a handheld device. There's a structure behind this, about 20 meters in. So we dig? Dake asked. We knock, Aaron replied. He approached the ice wall, activating a device attached to his wrist. A sequence of pulses transmitted through the ice, an ancient recognition code programmed before their long sleep. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a low rumble, the ice began to fracture. Geometric patterns appeared, glowing faintly from within as ancient machinery awakened. The walls split along invisible seams, revealing a massive door of some metal that had resisted the corrosion of time. "Welcome, human survivors." An automated voice greeted them as the door slowly opened. "Sanctuary 7 awaits." Inside, they found a technological oasis. Unlike the decaying Ark, Sanctuary 7 had been designed for the long term, its systems maintained by dedicated AIs and robotic caretakers. Vast hydroponic gardens provided food. Fusion reactors supplied nearly limitless power. Manufacturing facilities stood ready to produce whatever the survivors needed. Most importantly, it contained a comprehensive database of human knowledge, science, history, art, literature, preserved against the systematic erasure that had befallen the rest of human legacy. As the survivors transferred from the Ark to the bunker over the following days, a sense of cautious hope began to replace the desperation that had driven them since their awakening. Here they could survive. Here they could plan. "It's not enough," Aaron said during a council meeting a week after their arrival. "Survival in hiding is not victory. We're 100 people against an entire galactic civilization," Wren argued. "What exactly do you propose?" "That we fight back," Aaron replied. "Not with brute force, but with the one advantage we have, the element of surprise. The Confederacy believes they've contained the threat by tracking the Ark. They don't know about Sanctuary 7. We can use that." "To do what?" Lena asked. She had earned her place on the council through her crucial role in their escape. "To rebuild. To reconnect with any other human enclaves that might have survived. To reclaim our history." Aaron activated a holographic display showing the galactic map Genesis had compiled. "According to the data we've gathered, there are rumors of human-like populations on several frontier worlds, descendants of colonies that were isolated during the collapse. Perhaps, if we can find them, unite them." "You're talking about a guerrilla war against an enemy that outnumbers us by trillions," Wren said flatly. "I'm talking about ensuring humanity has a future beyond this bunker." Aaron countered. "Sanctuary 7 was never meant to be a tomb. It's a launching point." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, Aaron's vision prevailed. Over the following months, they put his plan into action. Small, stealthy craft were constructed using the bunker's facilities, designed to evade Confederacy detection systems. Scouts were sent out, seeking other human enclaves and gathering intelligence. To their amazement, they weren't alone. On a remote mining outpost called the Juno Enclave, they discovered several thousand humans, descendants of a mining colony cut off during the collapse. Initial contact was tense, with the Marshal of Juno suspicious of these strangers claiming to be from Earth itself. But genetic testing confirmed their shared heritage, and soon an alliance was formed. More discoveries followed. A penal colony on Mars Titan, a moon of Jupiter, had maintained a small population for millennia, isolated and forgotten by the galaxy at large. A deep space research station, drifting in the Arcalise belt, housed scientists who had continued their work for generations, oblivious to the greater galactic community. Each enclave had survived by remaining hidden, developing their own cultures and technologies in isolation. Now, they began to reconnect, sharing resources and knowledge through secure communication networks established by Bren, a communications specialist from the Ark who had a gift for hacking alien systems. But their growing network didn't go unnoticed forever. 6 months after arriving at Sanctuary 7, one of their scout ships failed to return from a mission. A week later, Genesis intercepted Confederacy communications mentioning human infestation sites targeted for cleansing operations. "They've found some of our people," Aaron announced grimly to the council. "The Juno Enclave is their primary target. Estimated time to Confederacy fleet arrival, 36 hours. "We don't have the firepower to stop a fleet," Wren pointed out. "No," Aaron agreed. But we have something else. He turned to Bren. Is it ready? The communications specialist nodded. The worm is complete. It can penetrate their navigation systems, but we need physical access to a Confederacy vessel to upload it. Then we'll get you access, Aaron said. Lena, prepare the Revenant. The Revenant, named after the ark that had carried them through time, was their flagship, a sleek combat vessel built from the best technology Sanctuary 7 could provide. Fast, stealthy, and armed with weapons reverse-engineered from Confederacy designs. It represented humanity's best chance at survival. Hours later, as the Confederacy fleet approached the Juno Enclave, the Revenant lay in wait, powered down to avoid detection, hidden among the debris of an asteroid belt. Aaron, Lena, Bren, and Dake comprised the strike team. Their mission simple but nearly impossible. Board the lead Confederacy vessel, upload the virus to its navigation systems, and escape before detection. Remember, Aaron told his team as they prepared to launch, these aren't the humans who betrayed us. These are aliens who want us extinct. Don't hesitate. The assault pod detached from the Revenant, its stealth systems rendering it nearly invisible as it drifted toward the massive Confederacy flagship. Using the cover of a routine shuttle docking, they attached to an external maintenance hatch, bypassing the main security systems. Once inside, they moved swiftly through the alien vessel. The Confederacy crew, a mix of species unlike anything the humans had seen before, never noticed the infiltrators until it was too late. Dake's silent projectile weapon dropped sentries before alarms could be raised. Bren's technical skills bypassed locked doors and security checkpoints. In the central navigation hub, Lena and Bren worked frantically to upload the virus while Aaron and Dake stood guard. What is this? A voice suddenly demanded in accented human language. Aaron spun to face a tall, skeletal being with iridescent skin, an officer of some kind, based on the elaborate markings on its uniform. Impossible, the alien breathed, eyes widening in recognition. Humans, you are extinct, erased. We got better, Aaron replied, raising his weapon. The alien's hand moved toward an alarm panel. Dake fired, the projectile taking the officer through the center of its elongated skull. It collapsed without another sound. Done, Bren announced. Virus uploaded. It's already spreading through their network. What exactly will it do? Aaron asked as they retreated toward their entry point. Disable their targeting systems. Scramble their navigation, Bren explained. But more importantly, it's going to broadcast the truth, human historical records, evidence of the systematic erasure, everything, directly into their information networks. They tried to erase us from history. We're putting ourselves back in. As they escaped the flagship and returned to the Revenant, chaos erupted across the Confederacy fleet. Ships veered off course, weapon systems failed, and communication channels overflowed with confusion and alarm. By the time they regained control, the human vessels from the Juno Enclave had escaped, and the Revenant was long gone. It was their first victory, small but significant. More importantly, it was a declaration humanity would not quietly fade into extinction. The months that followed saw a rapid escalation of the conflict. The Confederacy dispatched specialized hunter drones called indexers to track down human enclaves. Led by an entity known only as Karl the Divider, these autonomous killing machines were relentless in their pursuit. In response, the growing human alliance mounted guerrilla strikes against Confederacy outposts and supply depots. The Slock Depot raid yielded valuable weapons technology. The infiltration of the Trell outpost provided critical intelligence on Confederacy fleet movements. Most importantly, they found allies among other species. Not all members of the Confederacy supported the anti-human policies. Some, known collectively as the Forgotten, had themselves suffered under Confederacy oppression and saw in humanity a potential ally against their common enemy. But with each victory came losses. Human outposts were discovered and destroyed. Brave men and women sacrificed themselves to ensure others could escape. The price of resistance was paid in blood. Internal tensions also threatened to fracture the human alliance. Admiral Wren increasingly opposed Aaron's aggressive tactics, advocating instead for a diplomatic approach. "We can't win a war of attrition," Wren argued during a particularly heated council meeting. "Each loss diminishes us in ways we cannot replace. We need to seek terms." "Terms?" Aaron scoffed. "What terms would you accept from those who try to erase us from existence, who hunt us like animals, who deny our very right to exist?" "Terms that ensure our survival," Wren countered. "Our destruction serves no one, not us, not them." The divide between them grew, mirroring a larger philosophical split among the survivors. Was humanity fighting for revenge or for the right to exist? Where was the line between justice and vengeance? Lena found herself caught between these competing visions. As she worked to implement Project Lazarus, a classified initiative to restore Earth's biosphere, she increasingly questioned the moral direction of their resistance. "We're talking about rewriting an ecosystem that's evolved for almost 1,000,000 years. She confronted Aaron after discovering the project's full scope. "Playing God with an entire planet. Earth was our home," Aaron replied. "We're reclaiming it." "At what cost?" Lena pressed. "Are we fighting to restore humanity or to replace what we've lost with some distorted copy? If we win by becoming what we're fighting against, what's the point?" These questions remained unanswered as events accelerated toward their inevitable climax. 9 months after awakening in the Ark, humanity faced its greatest challenge yet. The Confederacy, tired of the guerrilla campaign, assembled a massive bombardment fleet, dozens of capital ships led by their flagship, the Extinguisher. Their target, a reclaimed orbital platform above Soulgrave, where humans had established their first publicly acknowledged outpost. It was a trap. Of course, the Confederacy knew this. The humans knew they knew. But some battles must be fought regardless of the odds. Some stands made despite the cost. As the Confederacy fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel into Earth's orbit, they found not just the orbital platform but a ragtag fleet of human vessels, everything from repurposed mining ships to hastily armed civilian transports. At their center floated the Revenant, upgraded and battle-scarred from numerous engagements. "This is Commander Aaron to all human vessels." Aaron's voice transmitted across the Allied fleet. "Today we fight not just for our lives, but for our right to exist, for our history, for our future. Whatever happens, let the galaxy remember, humanity stands." The battle began with an exchange of long-range fire. Confederacy weapons tore through the smaller human vessels with devastating efficiency. Return fire seemed to bounce harmlessly off the massive flagship's shields. "Main batteries ineffective," Lena reported from the Revenant's engineering station. "Their shield technology has adapted to our weapons." Aaron surveyed the tactical display. They were losing, as expected. But the battle wasn't about winning in the conventional sense. "Implement Phase 2, he ordered. The human fleet began to scatter, drawing the Confederacy vessels into a complex pursuit pattern. Meanwhile, the Revenant accelerated directly toward the Extinguisher, a seemingly suicidal charge. "They're powering up their main cannon," Bren warned. "Impact in 30 seconds. "Evasive maneuvers," Aaron commanded. "Bring us alongside their engineering section." The Revenant twisted impossibly, the inertial compensators screaming in protest as G-forces threatened to tear the ship apart. The Confederacy weapon discharged, the energy beam missing them by meters and instead striking one of their own pursuing vessels. In the moment of confusion that followed, the Revenant slipped under the flagship's guard, attaching itself to the massive vessel's hull like a parasite. "Boarding teams, deploy," Aaron ordered, strapping on his combat gear. "Lena, you have command of the Revenant. If we're not back in 20 minutes, disengage and rendezvous with the Mars Titan contingent." Aaron, Lena said, using his name rather than his rank for the first time. This is a one-way mission, isn't it? He met her gaze steadily. Someone has to light the fire. The boarding action was brutal and swift. Aaron led a team of 20 elite fighters, humans from the Ark, Juno warriors, even a few forgotten allies, through the extinguisher's corridors toward its reactor core. Every intersection became a battleground. Every sealed door required Bren's expertise to bypass. Their numbers dwindled as they progressed deeper into the enemy vessel. Dake fell defending a choke point, his silent efficiency claiming 6 Confederacy soldiers before a 7th energy blade found his heart. Others sacrificed themselves to ensure the mission continued. By the time they reached the reactor control room, only Aaron, Bren, and 3 others remained. As they fought their way inside, alarms blared throughout the flagship. The Confederacy forces had realized their intent too late. How long? Aaron asked as Bren worked at the alien controls. 3 minutes to override the safety protocols, the communications specialist replied, his fingers dancing across the interface. Another 2 to initiate an overload. You have 2 minutes total, Aaron said, taking up a defensive position at the entrance. They're coming. The first wave of Confederacy troops hit their position moments later. Aaron and the others held them back with a withering crossfire, but more kept coming. Done, Bren shouted over the chaos. Overload initiated. We have 4 minutes to clear the blast radius. Aaron knew they wouldn't make it. The corridors back to the Revenant were undoubtedly flooded with enemy troops. But there was another way to ensure the mission succeeded. Broadcast, he ordered Bren. All frequencies. I want every being in this system to hear this. As they retreated from the reactor room, fighting a running battle against pursuing forces, Bren activated the communication systems he had hacked during their infiltration. Aaron's voice echoed not just through the extinguisher but across the entire battlefield. This is Commander Aaron of humanity. To the Confederacy and all who serve it, you tried to erase us from history. You failed. You tried to hunt us to extinction. You failed. After today, you will never forget that humanity lives. Humanity fights, and humanity prevails. We are the ghosts you could not exorcise. We are the memory you could not erase. We are humanity, and we have returned. The transmission cut off as a Confederacy energy weapon caught Aaron in the shoulder, spinning him against a bulkhead. Bren and another fighter dragged him into a side corridor as explosions began to rock the flagship. The Revenant? Aaron asked through gritted teeth. Disengaged as ordered, Bren replied. They're clear. Aaron nodded. A strange sense of peace settling over him, despite the pain and the knowledge that death approached. Then, we've won. The extinguisher's reactor detonated 3 minutes later. The explosion tore through the massive vessel's core, sending shock waves across the battlefield. Secondary explosions cascaded through its superstructure as power conduits overloaded and weapon systems detonated. The flagship didn't simply die. It came apart in a spectacular conflagration visible across the solar system. The psychological impact on the Confederacy fleet was immediate and devastating. Some vessels fled immediately. Others, suddenly leaderless, fell into disarray, becoming easy targets for the regrouping human forces. By the battle's end, the human alliance had suffered catastrophic losses, nearly 60% of their vessels destroyed or disabled. But the Confederacy fleet had been shattered, its flagship destroyed, its confidence broken. More importantly, Aaron's final broadcast, combined with the data warfare initiated months earlier, had accomplished what seemed impossible. Humanity had reclaimed its place in galactic consciousness. They could no longer be ignored, no longer be erased. In the aftermath, the remaining human forces consolidated around the orbital platform above Earth. Lena, now leading in Aaron's absence, faced the monumental task of rebuilding from the devastation. Admiral Wren emerged as the voice of moderation, advocating for diplomatic outreach to the now fractured Confederacy. Eren showed them we cannot be destroyed, he argued. Now we must show them we can be allies. Others called for pressing the advantage, for an echo offensive to reclaim human history and territory, while the Confederacy reeled from their defeat. The Council remained divided, their debates echoing the fundamental question that had driven them since awakening. What kind of future should humanity build from the ashes of its past? 1 year after the battle for the Bastion, as it came to be known, Lena stood on the surface of Earth for the first time. Project Lazarus had begun its work, carefully reintroducing genetically archived species to selected regions of the planet. It would take centuries, perhaps millennia, to restore Earth to anything resembling its former state. But the process had begun. The galactic landscape had changed dramatically. The Confederacy's core worlds had slipped into civil unrest, with many questioning the leadership that had brought them to this point. The forgotten species had risen in open rebellion, inspired by humanity's example, and human enclaves, no longer hiding in the shadows, had established diplomatic and trade relations with sympathetic alien civilizations. It was not peace, not yet, but it was the beginning of a new era. On a hillside overlooking what had once been a great human city, now reclaimed by 1,000,000 years of nature, a monument had been erected, a statue of a soldier, deliberately resembling no specific individual, stood with fist raised toward the stars. At its base, a simple inscription read, "Humanity endures." Lena placed her hand on the cool stone, remembering Eren, Dake, and countless others who had sacrificed themselves for this moment. Was it worth it? Admiral Wren asked, joining her at the monument. Their relationship remained complex, respectful but strained by their different visions for humanity's future. "Ask me in a century," Lena replied, "when we see what we've built from this beginning." Above them, the stars emerged as the sun set, the same stars that had watched over humanity's birth, witnessed its near extinction, and now observed its rebirth. Different constellations formed by stellar drift over hundreds of millennia, yet still the same cosmos that had always challenged humans to reach beyond themselves. Somewhere among those stars, Commander Eren and his final boarding team were presumed lost with the destruction of the extinguisher. No evidence of their survival had ever been found, yet rumors persisted in the shadowy corners of galactic communication networks. Stories of human guerrilla fighters led by a scarred commander, striking from the darkness against Confederacy holdouts, vanishing before retaliation could find them. Ghost stories, most likely. But in a galaxy where humanity had returned from extinction, who could say what was impossible? As darkness fell completely over Earth, Lena turned away from the monument, her mind already occupied with the next day's challenges. The work of resurrection, of a planet, of a species, of a legacy, was never finished. Behind her, illuminated by the light of a rising moon, the statue's raised fist seemed to clench tighter, a silent promise to the stars. Humanity had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same.